Today with me, Abi Agina, and our focus this afternoon is on the cost of ugali, the most common staple food in many households. The price of maize flour has shot through the roof, now retailing at 210 shillings for a 2 kg packet of maize flour, I beg your pardon. And this is causing ripples among Kenyans who are feeling the weight of the high cost of living. We're trying to explore what could have happened and what are the solutions in regards to sorting out the maize crisis that we continue to face as a country. And we are joined here in studio by Gerald Masila, the CEO of the East Africa Grain Council, which is one of the apex bodies that is in the business of the maize industry. Thank you, sir, for staying with us. And picking it up from where we left, we are literally at a crossroad, because as the maize flour goes up, government had authorized for importation of maize to be able to cushion Kenyans from the harsh prices. How far are the imports? How soon are they landing at the port?
Yeah, thank you, Abi. You are right to say that government did actually, through a gazette notice towards the end of May of last month, government allowed around 540,000 tons of maize, non-GMO, to be imported into the country to cushion the situation. But they gave a window of up to August. So that means you have June and July, literally. Now,
is it even practical? Because
that's where I'm heading
for
to.
the ships to sail, load, and
in
reach
3 months,
yeah.
Abi, you cannot source for maize, aggregate it in a port, load it on a ship. To load in a ship, it takes weeks, because a ship takes something like 40 or 42,000 tons. Now, when you want to understand what is 42,000 tons, a normal trailer that you see around the roads carries around 26 tons, one trailer. Now you can imagine 40,000 tons, how many trailers are we talking about? Quite a huge number.
Yeah.
So with that period that was given of only up to August, it is not enough time to source the maize, load it into the ship, sail out of Mexico, which is the only source you can get non-GMO maize, nowhere else. And then it takes 40 to 50 days sailing in the high seas and then getting to the port of Mombasa. And then when you get to the port, you have to offload.
Yeah.
To offload a ship, until a year or two ago, we used to take 1 month to offload one ship. 540,000 tons is 12 ships, 12 of 42,000 tons. So at best, if we are going to even offload 2 ships a month, it will take you
another 4 months,
another 4, 5, 6 months
yes.
to do it. But then there are already other imports like wheat and others that are already lined up that are using the facility we have for bulk. So technically what we are saying is that in 3 months it is not possible to bring the maize. And so as far as we know, all our members that are in the business saw it as a very high risk to try to put your money to bring the maize, only for you to arrive and then the window has ended and you get into financial ruin. So as a result, no one has put an order, and we are not expecting any grain of maize out of that 540,000 non-GMO imports from outside the
So where
EAC.
does this leave Kenyans? Because we are also aware that close to 100 trucks are stuck at the Namanga border that were supposed to be bringing maize from Tanzania. We were also expecting some maize from Uganda. What is it that is what is not happening?
So that actually compounds the situation. For the last couple of months, we've had very good trade processes happening between for flows of grain, particularly maize, from Tanzania to Kenya, from Uganda to Kenya.
Yeah.
And we even made a lot of efforts with the High Commissioner of Tanzania here in Kenya to ensure that the trade flow goes well. And all has been going on well until this week, when a new requirement was put up, where the government of Tanzania decided to say that all the permits that had been given have expired, or insisted that you have to come up with a new export permit for you to be allowed to move grain out of Tanzania to Kenya. And when they put up that requirement, they have blocked over 100 trucks at the port. They've been there for more than 6 days, and you know that condition, enclosed in the tarpaulins and in the containers, that grain is spoiling, and most of it is being brought in by smallholder, small scale SME traders, women and others, who actually take loans from banks to go and buy maize out in the villages, aggregate it, put it in a truck, come and sell, then pay back the loan. So you can imagine, with those trucks held out there at the border by the government of Tanzania, it means that the supplies that we were expecting will not come, and the situation will go worse. So in fact, because we are also not expecting anything coming out of Uganda, because this last season they had a drought similar to what we saw here in the lower eastern parts of the country. There's nothing that has been harvested in the lower eastern part of the country. Not a single grain of maize, not even ndengu, green grams that we normally do a lot of export. So we are going to even have a tighter situation in the next few days, because the saving grace that used to come through Tanzania, we have an issue, and we have now asked government to really engage quickly with the government of Tanzania to really allow free flow of trade, because we're in one community, and in Tanzania the new harvest has actually started coming in, and we know that they did have good rains, so that points us to some hope, but only if the trade flows will not be hindered through this kind of non-tariff barriers to trade.
So Masila, there seems to be no way out of this, because as you speak, maize is stuck at the border. We don't know how soon this will be resolved between the two countries. Of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta is currently meeting other heads of state to tackle the situation in DRC. And back home, Kenyans are literally pushed to the corner when it comes to affording even a 2 kg packet of maize flour. And the maize that were supposed to be held in our strategic reserves as a country, this is by the National Cereals and Produce Board, we are getting reports that there's a sense of hoarding by the big farmers to wait for the prices to shoot further upwards. How true is this?
I would really be very, very surprised if there is a farmer somewhere having maize in their stores when the price is over 6,500. That price we have never seen. Any rational thinking being would take advantage, put that maize in the market and make the money, because as they continue waiting and the new harvest comes, the price will crash. When the price crashes, how will it benefit them? So that narrative that there are farmers hoarding grain in their stores, I don't buy it. I don't even see how many of those farmers who have that capacity and the storage systems in their farms that can hold significant amount of grain, unless you're saying somebody has a bag or 2 or 3 or 4 for their chicken and for their silage and whatever, they are allowed to have their own grains there for their own use. But a surplus that is for the market, I really doubt that if there's any sane Kenyan who is hoarding grain and waiting for the price to go beyond what it is, because that's madness. I don't expect that.
So Masila, if you were to have audience with the head of state, what are the quick low-hanging fruits? Because we are likely to see an unga revolution.
So the quick low-hanging fruits, the very first one is that we need an immediate engagement with the government of Tanzania to ease those non-tariff barriers of trade, to allow those farmers in Tanzania, because they are part of the community, to really retail and bring in maize into the country, so that we can increase the supplies and mitigate the situation. So Tanzania is one source. The other source is Zambia, which is not too far down in our neighborhood, and we've even engaged with a few of those farmers out there who have been able to aggregate, and we have facilitated through the EAGC GSOCO trading system quite a number of significant volumes of maize that will be coming through from Zambia to Kenya. We're also looking at Malawi to Kenya, but we've also looked at other sources which are not going to be immediate, but at least within a month or two, and this is Romania and Serbia. So I've had the occasion to host the ambassador of Serbia in my office. We've engaged, we've gotten the people with the maize in Serbia, which is non-GMO, and also in Romania. And we're also glad to learn that Romania, who are neighboring Ukraine, are also working through the port of Constantine to be able to ship out grain. And so we've also learned that the sailing period from the Black Sea to Mombasa is something inside 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum. So we are saying if these systems can be executed in a record 4 weeks, we would have sufficient grain in the country, and that would be somewhere around June, July or something like that, and that will ease the situation. The danger is that if we don't do anything, because we already wasted a lot of time, we appealed to government, we advised government, we wrote, but there was a delay in taking action to allow. And so for me, if I would address the head of state, those are the things that I would say that needs to be done, and they need to be done very, very urgently.
So what does your forecast reveal, especially now that all these wish lists, in the interim period, the common Kenyan listening to us, watching us, what are the options on the table? Because a majority of households do depend on maize flour to be a source of their daily meals. What are the options on the table?
So the good thing is that we have options, and I think it's a high time now for us as Kenyans to also look at how we can expand the variety of our food sources, even from the grain basket. And one of them is sorghum. And we have a good availability of sorghum, and thanks to the breweries having done a lot of work to increase the production of sorghum, mainly for brewing, but it's also very good when you mill it and you even blend it with maize, it gets good. So we have an immediate chance now as Kenyans, and even with our millers, we can start doing blending to increase the volume. So if, for example, we have X amount of maize available, if we would blend it with another 20 or 30% of sorghum, of millet, and these are grains we used to consume in the past, the brown ugali with the red sorghum, and also millet and finger millet. Those are options that we can look at in terms of expanding our option. And the other option is that Kenya, we are a very good producer of rice, which is a grain, and in fact our Pishori rice is leading in the world, and we have seen a lot of improvements in our rice production in the country. And so I would advise Kenyans that yes, rice is also another opportunity, and we can also expand to doing a lot more blending and consuming even whole grains that are more nutritious, that have got more vitamins and things like that. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's time for us to now start experimenting, doing a little bit more of trying other grain cereals to blend and to substitute or to complement what we have with maize, so that we are able to continue being a healthy nation.
Right. And let's be a bit futuristic in regards to the maize stocks we have currently, as well as the imminent long rains. This may just turn the tide when you look at the production cycle for maize. Are we likely to see things leveling off in the short term, before elections or post-elections? What do you see lying ahead?
So thank you for the question. My forecast is that the situation is going to be tight for at least the next 2 or so harvests. We don't know how the rains will happen, because remember, this current season, the crop in the long rain areas, in the main producing areas of Uasin Gishu and
the North Rift.
And North Rift, the rains delayed a bit, but we still had planting happening in March, April. And then we were also hit by the fertilizer situation, when fertilizer was retailing for over 6,000 shillings a bag, and it was not even available, up from 2,000. And so most farmers did not access the fertilizer, did not get it to the required levels. And so a good number, from our market information, we know a good number reduced the acreage of maize, and we also know some that chose not to go into planting maize. And so our projection this current season is that there is no way, there is no chance, even if the rains are as good as how, that we can get a normal harvest. It's not possible. And remember, secondly, we are coming from a very deep hole where we have depleted our stocks. We've also depleted what is in the pipeline from the millers to the retailers to our homes. That pipeline is almost empty. So as a result, the gap is very, very big. And remember also, the harvest will only start coming in November, December. That will be past the elections. Elections will be in August. And so I don't see our local harvest easing the situation sufficiently as it is now, from where I sit and from what we see as the grain sector. And so immediate action that I mentioned earlier needs to be done, and then going forward we have to reboot and change our crops management and our crops production as a country.
I was about to ask you this as we wrap up, in terms of there have been, of course, narratives that the maize industry is being run by cartels who control the demand and supply and all these kind of issues. And I just wanted to get your take on this, because we did see a while back where the president was pretty much irated by his agriculture minister back then. That was CS Mwangi Kiunjuri, where some payments had delayed, and yet farmers had supplied maize to the various bodies that collect.
So the reality when it comes to crops and maize, the truth is that we have so many people involved in maize farming. You can grow maize, Abi, if you want. I can grow, anybody can grow maize. There's so many people involved in maize production, in maize milling, for anybody to come up with a narrative to say there are a few guys who are controlling all of us. The basic economics theory of perfect competition really does not fit that narrative. I don't agree. What I see though is that our crops, generally the maize, the wheat, and the rest of generally the crop sector is in a total mess. And why is it in a mess? Because it's the only sector that we as a country don't know. As a country, we don't know how much land we are putting in every season, in every crop year. We are putting on crops. We don't know. We don't have the data. We don't know how much we harvest. We don't know what those who produce, the farmers, live at home, and what they put in the market. And we just leave it. Yes, it's a liberalized market, no problem, anybody can get in and out. But we need information, we need data, we need knowledge, and we need a planning to support that process. And that's why it's a bit of a difficult situation where when you look at the other sectors, for example, the horticulture sector is flourishing, is doing extremely well in the same country, under the same rains, under the same soils. How is it that crops are not working well? It's because first of all, our challenge is from a constitutional perspective. When agriculture was devolved, and when it was devolved without tools, without implements. So you have the central government carrying policy, the county governments doing production, and there's a really total disconnect and breakdown that has happened there. And our recommendation from EAGC is that we need to come in with a very strong market information and information process where we get information and data, how much land is going into crop production, how much we are harvesting. Unless we do that, we will be groping in the dark, we'll be flying a plane without any of the indicators working, because that's really what is happening. And no wonder now we have maize retailing at 6,500, and we are all acting surprised. And there's no surprise, because if you don't have indicators in form of data, what do you expect?
All right. In less than 30 seconds, I know we're out of time. My director keeps reminding me. What will happen if the maize flour prices rise past what we are currently seeing? What is likely to happen in the country?
Okay, very quickly, I know that most of the millers, if they won't get maize to mill, will be shutting down. Some of them are even doing one milling session a week. And so when the prices go beyond that, it means the normal Kenyan will not be able to access their daily ugali, as it were, and I just can't imagine what this will be. For me, it's a sorry situation, and it's something that needs to be taken action on very, very urgently.
All right, many thanks
you.
there, Gerard Masela, for your time.
Thank you.
The CEO for the East Africa Grain Council, giving us some inside perspective on what is really ailing the maize production cycle in the country. A lot of feedback coming here on Twitter. Thank you very much for your sentiments, and let's keep the conversation going on our social media handles as we continue to explore how best can we resolve this situation moving forward. Well, that's why we bring it to a close here on Business Today. I've been your host, Abi Agina. Let's do this same time tomorrow, and we'll be hoping to see some reactions, especially when it comes to the maize, the trucks that are stuck at the borders. We shall be giving you more updates on just what will transpire from this. Well, until next time, have a lovely afternoon and keep safe.